Imagine everything you have worked for in your entire life can be taken from you in an instant. Or delayed a few months. Such is the risk NFL players take every time they put on the pads. But some injuries, players don't come back from. And today we're going to find out what injury is most likely to end your NFL career. And that's coming up right after this. Is anything easy these days? I can tell you one thing that is not, and that's talking about erectile dysfunction. Yeah, we went there. Some people brush it off or blame themselves. Thankfully, Roman has found a way to make talking about ED easy. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for your ED, all from the comfort and privacy of your home. A healthcare pro will work with you to find the best treatment plan. And if medicine is the answer, it gets shipped to you free and in 2 days. Getting started is simple. Just go to getroman.com/5 points and complete a free online visit. Yes, it's that easy. Like I said, go to getroman.com/5 points and get $15 off your first order of ED treatment, a free online visit, and free 2-day shipping. There's a link below. Roman, let's take care of it. Advancements in sports medicine have saved countless careers in football. Injuries that used to mean certain are now routinely treatable. Most severe casualties usually go on to take a season to recover, or if you're Adrian Peterson, about 8 to 10 business days. But there are still some injuries that never heal, and players that are destined for greatness become tragic stories of what if. Gale Sayers, Bo Jackson, and Sterling Sharp were all cut down in the prime of their respective careers. But in the 21st century, those players could have returned to the field. But in this video, we're going to find out the injuries that modern medicine still hasn't been able to figure out. We're not counting broken spines or lacerated kidneys either. We're looking for injuries that are commonplace and still excruciatingly tough to recover from. Ice up, son.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
The most common injury that will end a player's season is an ACL, MCL, or PCL tear. Basically, any of the CLs in your knee. In fact, knee injuries make up over 20% of all football injuries. They're either caused by an outside blow to the knee, or they're the silent killers, the non-contact injuries that can instantly end a season. But it's common, almost expected now, to come back strong from a knee injury. They basically put a dead person's ligament in your knee, and you are as good as new, like in Rick and Morty. Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, J.J. Watt, and even Teddy Bridgewater have all done it and played at a high level, sometimes better than before. They don't end careers like they used to. There aren't many players anymore who tear a ligament or two in their knee and are zapped of all their powers like Terrell Davis was. But there's still one injury that can end your playing days in an instant. Time for a quick lesson in mythology. The Achilles tendon is called that because of the Greek myth of the warrior Achilles, who as a baby was dipped in the river Styx, which was supposed to make him invulnerable.
So you can only be injured on your Achilles tendon.
That's right. How about you, Testicles?
It's the same. It's similar.
And Achilles was invulnerable in all of his body, except for his heel. When his mother dipped him in there, she held him by one of his heels. And when Wes Welker's mom dipped her son in the river, she held him by the head. How come he didn't get a second dip either? In the Battle of Troy, the archer Paris shot an arrow through Achilles' heel, and ever since then the term Achilles' heel has been used as a metaphor for weakness. And in case you were wondering, Achilles was put on permanent IR after that. The tendon itself is a weakness in the ordinary human body as well as that of elite athletes, as many tragic careers would indicate. Let's dig a little bit deeper. What is the function of the ligament and what happens when it's torn or ruptured? The Achilles is the large tendon that stretches up and down the calf, the thickest tendon in the entire body. Whereas the ACL and MCL largely affect a player's ability to move laterally, the Achilles is responsible for a lot of players' ability to quickly stop and start, owing to their ability to accelerate and decelerate, to stop on a dime, if you will. This play by Lamar Jackson from his high school days is a perfect example of using your Achilles tendons to stop on a dime, making your opponents look ridiculous. You can see why it's so integral to a lot of players, particularly at skill positions. It's also the reason Achilles injuries look so innocuous at the moment they occur. It's usually when a player is running in a straight line, not even cutting or getting hit, that will cause a ruptured Achilles. It's also pretty rare. Lower extremity review found that there is just a 0.9 0.93% of an Achilles rupture occurring in any given game. But according to their study, 36% of sufferers never saw the field again. That's compared to about 18% of players who tear their ACLs who also never return, and those numbers seem to get smaller with every year that passes. Hell, Alex Smith nearly died after taking a cannonball to the leg and returned less than 2 years later to play again, and to get sacked 6 times and piggyback Aaron Donald. Generally, when players rupture their Achilles, they have to do rehab for about 4 to 6 months before they're cleared for full activities. Oftentimes, it takes a full year before they're right again, if they are ever right again. The best route to repair a rupture is through surgery, although not all cases demand it. The idea is to restore the tendon to its natural tension in the calf, allowing players to stop and start like they could prior to the rupture. It's a little like breaking a guitar string, taping it back together, and trying to tie it again so it's back in tune with the rest of the strings. Not the easiest task for surgeons. It's also tough to repair the tendon because it doesn't get a rich flow of blood like other parts of the body. Think about it when you're on your phone scrolling through Twitter in the bathroom and how quickly your calves fall asleep. That's the best way to explain it. Back in week 1 of the 2014 season, 3 NFL players went down with Achilles injuries within a 24-hour span. Colts edge rusher Robert Mathis, Chiefs linebacker Derek Johnson, and Chiefs defensive tackle Mike DeVito all felt that excruciating pop. It's like getting kicked sharply in the back of the leg. Players who've gone through it will attest. 3 in 1 day is extremely unlucky and not the normal rate. There are typically around 4 to 10 Achilles ruptures in any given regular season, and 1 to 3 per preseason. But as sports medicine and physical therapy continue to advance and evolve, players are not only coming back from Achilles ruptures, but thriving upon their return. Demaryius Thomas tore his Achilles in the 2011 offseason and 8 months later was able to return to the field, putting up 500 yards in about half a season and eventually knocking the Steelers out of the playoffs on a play where his Achilles looked a-okay. The healing powers of Tim Tebow notwithstanding, Thomas was able to rebound without issue and ended up making 5 straight Pro Bowls in his career as well as earning All-Pro honors twice. Sadly, Thomas did rupture his Achilles for a second time in 2018 at the age of 30, spelling the end of his days as an effective receiver. Terrell Suggs tore his Achilles on 2 occasions, both in the span of 3.5 years. The first time Suggs was playing basketball in the 2012 offseason when he heard the dreaded pop. Just 4.5 months later, an unprecedented recovery that I'm sure wasn't aided by any suspicious substances, Suggs suited up and took the field in October, ultimately leading a defense that won Super Bowl 47. A few years later, in the first week of the 2015 season, Suggs got hit by Paris's arrow once again on the other leg, leading to a long recovery that ultimately saw him bounce back in 2016, recording 8 sacks and finally a Pro Bowl nod in 2017 for the Ball So Hard alum, picking up 11 sacks for the Ravens. Jason Peters, Richard Sherman, and Emmanuel Sanders have all battled back to their old selves on the playing field. Other players weren't so lucky. Dez Bryant, who was drafted the same year as Demaryius Thomas, also tore his Achilles in 2018 in just his first practice after signing with the New Orleans Saints. Bryant was unable to play a down that season and since then hasn't returned to the field, but he has gotten good at Madden. A lot of factors go into the recovery, and it's almost a crapshoot whether or not a player fully recovers, if that's even possible. The good news in all of this is that whether it's an Achilles, ACL, or your leg being chewed to bits by a pack of rabid dogs like Alex Smith, the likelihood of coming back from a long-term injury gets better with every passing year in the NFL. We've improved at treating injuries and should continue to do so. Is it worth the risk? Yes. Unless you get drafted by the Jets. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please not forget to check out the sponsor, Roman, from the link below. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to my next video.